I have nothing in common with Vladimir Putin. Other than, okay, here's one thing I have in common. If I don't like somebody, I will often push them out of a window. Donnie T and Putin met up in Alaska, the sacred middle ground between Russia and America. You know, there's a couple funny things I want to say about it. First, this is supposed to be the big meeting to finally get the ceasefire, to get the ball moving on a ceasefire between Ukraine and Russia. The idea is that Trump is going to use his and the United States' leverage, finally get Putin agree to a ceasefire. That was today. And what's funny to me is if you go back in time to, I couldn't tell you when this changed, but back in the day, meetings like this would be day or weeks long. They would have the whole team, all from both sides, go to the same area for a long time and hash details out. This meeting today was 2.5 hours. Trump flew in the morning and flew out by 6. Like, what happened? These are important things. It should be like, it's like they had a meeting for a little bit of time, a press conference, and he was gone. It's like, this shit is important. It is a big deal. I feel like it should take a long time. So anyway, Trump flew into Alaska this morning at noon. They met for 2.5 hours. They had a short press conference where Putin talked in Russian for like 30 minutes unbroken. And then Trump followed up by saying, yeah, we had a great meeting, very productive. Couple things we disagreed on, one big thing, but we'll figure it out. And then he flew back home. I'm not kidding. That's what happened. And one big thing I assume is the war, is the land, is who gets the land, Ukraine or Russia. So it doesn't feel like much progress was made. It was my indication. I want to give you some larger context into, first of all, a couple weird things that happened right before the meeting, and then the meta that is determining, that all world leaders have now figured out. Here's the meta. We talked about this in my predictions before Trump even came to power. He really, really, really wants the Nobel Prize. That is becoming ever more, it was already clear, but he really wants the Nobel Peace Prize. I guess because Obama got it, I don't know what, but Trump wants it really badly. And so everybody has figured out the meta of this. And the danger is that, going into this meeting, they had a couple calls, right? Trump said he wants to end the fighting as he promised. He said, he promised he'd end it in one day. It's been a little more than a day, but he wants to end the fighting in Ukraine. And I think his goal with that is to get the Nobel Peace Prize. And in recent months, the relationship, which started out, fairly good between these two, has soured a bit. Let's get a heart. It's soured a bit because Trump has grown frustrated with what he sees as Putin's reluctance to actually end the war. Putin has talked, he's taken calls, yada, yada, yada. He's extended, he's met, but there's no progress towards actually ending the war, which of course everyone could have told you before you said it would be easy. Or he said it would be a day one thing. Of course, he's going to play whatever games are to his benefit. So this meeting was supposed to be a way to get back on track and finally get things done, or it's going to be the final massive breakup and Trump is apparently going to turn on all of the US's pressure. Zelensky was not invited to the meeting, okay? However, Zelensky does like these nightly addresses to Ukraine. He said, we are counting on a strong American position in this meeting. Everything will depend on this. America has to put pressure on to end the war. Now, did Trump do that today? I don't think so, but that's what he said last night. Now, it is odd to not have Zelensky invited to this meeting, but I guess you could call it a step one, a beginning of the cycle. But the real question is this, okay? These are the roughly current lines of how much Russia has taken in the war in Ukraine, which is about 20% of Ukrainian territory. And the question is going to come down to, if there is a ceasefire, does this land stay with Russia? Does it go back to Ukraine? Obviously, Zelensky would want every single ounce of this territory back to Ukraine. Obviously, Putin would want all of this and possibly more. Where does the line get drawn? And as much as these people all talk in circles about it, it feels like no one's willing to give an inch. And so I don't see an actual breakthrough being happening. But what was interesting is, given that Trump's priorities are actually not who gets what territory, he doesn't care. Who wins this war? Who gets what? It's not important to Trump. What's important to Trump is whether or not he gets a Nobel Peace Prize. And for that, all he needs is a ceasefire. So Putin is beginning, I think, to learn how to play this meta. If Putin can give Trump a ceasefire that lasts until he gets a Nobel Prize, and then regroups, reinvades, retakes more, then they both get their goals. And Zelensky gets nothing. And Zelensky is continually warning about this. He is continually saying that he does not trust he basically says this: Russia only respects a ceasefire when it benefits them. So it will only last until Russia thinks they can gain advantage from attacking again, and they'll break it. They've done it in the past, and likely a ceasefire in the future, unless it's backed up by real concrete guarantees from Europe and America, will get broken again the second they regroup. Anyway, that's the intractable price we find ourselves in. The weird thing, the one thing that was non-standard, is that aside from everyone else recognizing the Nobel Peace Prize meta, let me give you a little taste here. This is actually really important. This is from the White House itself. President Donald J. Trump is the president of peace. From the White House official account. Worldwide calls for President Trump to receive Nobel Peace Prize. Prime Minister of Armenia, of Azerbaijan, of Cambodia, of Gabon, of Israel, of Pakistan, and of Rwanda. A real who's who of peace-loving countries have all nominated Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. And it turns out that, I'll give you a specific example. The government of Pakistan. Okay, so if you guys don't know, this is a real brief overview. There's a lot more here, but I'm gonna give you a real brief overview. There's a conflict recently that flared up between India and Pakistan. Okay, it flared up. Some planes got shot down. It could have gotten bigger. They negotiated a ceasefire. It has flared down a bit. Now, Trump was somewhat involved, but Trump walked away from that, saying that he did it. Okay, that they were gonna start World War III, and I came in and I stopped it, and I deserve a Nobel Peace Prize. All right. Now, India, which has been fairly tight with Trump, Modi, who's the leader of India, went to Houston, Texas, and did a Trump rally and said, you have Make America Great Again, we have Make India Great Again, and together we're going to make everything great again, mega. Modi and Trump have been relatively tight, okay? But India was like, well, no, you didn't do this ceasefire. It was basically us. You shouldn't take credit for this. You didn't do much. This was we figured this out. Okay, that's what they said. Once they said that, it pissed off Trump so much, so personally, that he has been nonstop since then, super aggressive towards India, undoing 20 years of an American goal of getting closer with India. It's been an American strategic objective, even through first Trump administration, to get real tight with India because it's a counter to China. The long-term big goal was American-Indian alliance is really helpful to prevent Chinese supremacy in Asia, okay? And he, ever since that, has been 50% tariff on India, calling India's economy dead, insulting Modi, all right? And when he does these things, India internally, Modi, can't turn the other cheek because then he loses face internally. There's people in India who are, he needs to look strong. he has to appeal to his own base internally, okay? It's bad for nationalism. So this one action is unraveling the India-US alliance. And it's causing, again, for the first time in 7 years, Modi is going to visit Beijing. He's visiting Xi Jinping, which again wasn't happening. So now we're driving India and China closer together. That's one thing. But the second part is that Pakistan sees an opportunity to, get more influence with the US and drive a wedge between India and the US. And so the leader of Pakistan immediately nominated Trump for the Peace Prize. They've played it perfectly. They recognize what's going on. What I'm just saying is a lot of countries are recognizing that if they need something from America, they can just nominate him for the Peace Prize and get his favor. Because right now, just being real, our government is being operated less like a series of strategies and rules and more like a royal court. It's being operated like a royal court with a king. The whims of one man determine the direction of America. If he's mad at something, we are aggressive against them. If he's happy with something, they get the better benefits. It's very Louis XIV. So people are learning to exploit that. Whether it's, Tim Cook bringing a gold bar to the office and flattering Trump so that Apple can get lower tariffs, or it's Pakistan nominating for the Nobel Prize so they can drive a wedge between India and America. Whatever. This stuff is happening, and it's all getting played. It's all the geopolitical meta is evolving. So anyway, in this game of unexpected people nominating Trump for the Nobel Prize, an old challenger has appeared to say something really unexpected. Hillary Clinton nominated Trump for the Nobel Prize today, with some caveats.
He is not meeting with a friend. He is meeting with an adversary, and an adversary who wants to see the destruction of the United States and the Western alliance. But if he could bring about the end to this terrible war, where Putin is the aggressor, invading a neighbor country, trying to change the borders. If he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor, had to, in a way, validate Putin's vision of greater Russia, but instead could really stand up to Putin to make it clear there must be a ceasefire, there will be no exchange of territory, and that over a period of time, Putin should be actually withdrawing from the territory he seized in order to demonstrate good faith efforts, let us say, not to threaten European security. If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, so the strategy here from Hillary is obvious. She's trying to, you know how if you want to bait somebody to do something, you're like, oh, you don't want to do it, you're chicken? It's kind of like the reverse of that. She's basically saying like, wow, if Trump were to make a deal with Putin where all of Ukraine got all their territory back and he didn't concede anything and he stood up to him, well, then I nominate him. But here's the problem. I see the strategy here. The idea is to like try to convince Trump to have more of a spine against Putin by thinking he could win the Nobel Prize that way. I get the strategy. Here's the problem. I think what Trump is going to take from this is he just heard the word ceasefire and Nobel Prize. And then he's going to take the narrative and run with it. He's like, even Hillary said I should get it. Okay, I got a ceasefire. He's not going to, the follow-up part about like, giving the territory back. And I don't think he's going to hear that part. I think he's just going to run with it. And he's going to fucking say, even Hillary said I should have it. And just get a ceasefire at any cost. What's funny is, I don't know if I have the clip on me. Maybe I can find it. Give me 1 second, I can find it. Because I think someone asked him what he thought about Hillary saying that, but they cut down what she said. So he hasn't even seen what she said. Yeah, it was on Fox. All right, here it is. I got it. I got a low res version. Sorry. If anyone has a higher res version, link it to me.
Azerbaijan, Congo, Rwanda. In fact, did you see that Hillary Clinton yesterday said that if you got this deal done and not capitulate to Putin, that she would nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize?
If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, that was very nice. I may have to start liking her again.
That's all it takes. Bro, scream lock her up for 8 years straight, and then she nominates you for the prize, maybe, with caveats. Oh, I like her again. So that's just the world we find ourselves in, this Nobel Peace Prize. And again, I know you think maybe I'm Trump derangement syndroming or something. I'm exaggerating. I promise you, dude. There's Republican sources saying that. Like, John Bolton, who was Trump's national security advisor, was on Fox News saying, like, the key thing here is the Nobel Prize. Like, that is his goal. That is what he plans his foreign policy around. It's becoming very obvious that it's not just one thing. That is like the key thing he is pushing for. And everyone now knows it, and so the meta is changing. So I don't know. That it's a little spooky. We'll see how this goes. Again, I've said this before, and I'll probably say this again. If you hear me say this all the time, I'm sorry. But right now in Ukraine, it is a battle between two narratives. Also a battle between two countries, people dying and killing. But I'm just saying, like, there's two stories happening, okay? Number one is Russia's economy. Is it getting really bad? And is it bad enough to push Putin to end the war? There's real bad shit that's happening. Russia's economy, Russia eco, okay? They've spent a ton of their foreign reserves. They started the war with a lot of gold and a lot of foreign currency. They now have almost none, okay? This is the thing. Is this bad enough to force them to try and end what they're doing? Number two, the counter narrative. Ukraine, population, people fighting men, fighting soldiers. Like, Ukraine is running out of number of people willing to fight. Manpower is what you could say, manpower, okay? There is a narrative war between these two fronts. Both are looking shaky. is what I'll say. Ukraine clearly has more willingness to fight. They have a national spirit to fight. They have, I believe, a more moral cause. They're fighting for their homeland, but they have fewer people, fewer resources. So it's this battle between these dueling things, and whichever narrative takes hold, and whatever the reality on the ground is, matters for both of them. And you can't get a truly accurate picture on either one. That's all I want to say. No matter what you say or whatever fucking source you have, I promise you, you cannot get a truly accurate picture of either one. There is a huge fog of war over all this stuff, okay? And that's what we're in the middle of right now. And both sides have a incentive to present it as not a problem. Buddy can't not put it in StarCraft terms. Fog of war is a real term. That's kind of the update right now based on this meeting today. It's really been about the Nobel Prize. So I don't know. What I'll say is this, and I showed this on the podcast Patreon, so if you're a Patreon member, you'll see this twice, I'm sorry, is that, you know, I don't think he's done enough to deserve it. But as everybody has learned this meta, you know, here's the thing. If you're somebody who wants to curry favor with Donald Trump, saying, I nominate you for the Nobel Peace Prize is really easy. It costs you nothing. And you in your head are like, it's not going to happen anyway, so I get all the upside and no downside. The problem is, as everybody learns this meta, it becomes more and more likely it might happen. Again, current betting odds have him at 11% behind Yulia Navalny, who is Alexei Navalny's wife. Alexei Navalny murdered by Putin. But it's like getting spoken into existence. Like the odds are going up. And it's just funny that we are in that world. Like it's not impossible. It's not impossible. It's not even insanely unlikely. And to be real, Obama got one and I'm not sure that was deserved. So, you know, it's like, it's not impossible. It's all I'm putting out there. Serious question. Why can't Russia issue a bunch of war bonds to keep the war going? Is that your question? So your question is, why can't Russia continue to borrow money to fund the war? And my answer is like, you basically asked me like, hey, Truck, I don't get it. Why can't I just buy everything I want with a credit card? Do you know? That's what you asked me. It's like, you kind of can. It has problems, right? It's not, yeah, listen, Russia would need people to buy the bonds because there's a big market for bonds globally. They'd have to offer really competitive interest rates. So the amount of interest they'd be offering would be really astronomically high. Let's say I'm a bank, right? Do I want to loan my money to Switzerland or the US or France or Germany? Or do I want to loan it to Russia in the middle of a war with a declining economy? If I give it to you, you have to give me a higher interest rate. Ukraine is going through this right now. Ukraine bonds are like, dude, what is the interest rate on a Ukrainian bond? Ukraine bond interest rate. 47%. Dude, it's 47%. Now, Russia would be lower than this because Ukraine has a chance of literally not existing, but it would still be really high. Like, imagine it was 20%. 20% interest on a loan is fucking crazy. So, yeah, I mean, that's not that they could keep it going, but at a really hefty cost. Yeah, the damage to Russia's foreign reserves is real. Legos? Oh, I'm getting Lego ads because I bought Ari the Shire Lego. Good husband alert. I should get the Nobel Prize for that, bro. I got this one for her. Easy clap. You look a bit like Putin. First time chatter, and you say I look like Vladimir Putin, a man who is in his late 70s, a Russian man, significantly shorter than me, completely bald, basically, in his 70s. And you say I look like him. And you all universally agree. Not a single one of you will stand up and say, you know what, I actually don't see the resemblance. Not one of you is can't fight the facts. Can we do a quick check? I know you guys you're dead set on this. I'm wondering if maybe you would reconsider. You see how there's like not a lot? Do you see how I don't look like him? I don't look like him. Even if I don't, by the way, I don't. But even if I did look like Putin, that doesn't mean we share traits. If anything, the idea that people that look similar are all act similar that's not a historically positive thought. Okay? I have nothing in common with Vladimir Putin. Other than, okay, here's one thing I have in common. If I don't like somebody, I will often push them out of a window. But I feel like I didn't do that because of, that's a whole different, that's just like a personal thing. And I think it's kind of like, everyone does. Who doesn't do that? Tell me, he who has not pushed an enemy out of a window cast the first stone. You know what I'm saying? Putin got that from you? I think he did.